just to, I guess, edify my point as to what they think they have here, the Democrats do, and how it sort of just completely blinkered this perspective is. I give you Morning Joe with, show me the page first and then go to it. Show me the page.
Biden's favorite show.
Oh, wait. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Senator Schumer to Speaker Johnson, do the right thing on the border bill. I mean, the insanity here, the absolute political malpractice that is being practiced here by the Biden White House is astonishing. Because at the end of the day, the message that's being communicated to the American public, top line, low information voter, the issue with Joe Biden for the broad American public. Think about what the issue with the broad American public ultimately boils down to. Is it his age? Is it that his stewardship of the economy? Even though the economy is starting to improve, he saw those and let me rephrase that. The people's perception of the economy is starting to improve. Saw that in the polling over the weekend. People's perception of the economy is starting to improve. People's perception of Biden's age is an issue. People's perception of Biden when it comes even to Gaza and whatnot. There is one thing that brings all these together. It's not that people have I hate people who are 80 years old. The concern is a failure of leadership on all of these. They do not believe, they do not think that Biden is the leader that they thought he would be when he replaced Trump. That's the perception, the vague sort of second order perception that is behind all of these things. And when you go out and basically say, we tried to make a deal, but I couldn't get him to do it. All you're saying is that there's a crisis on the border and I can't make the people who could do something about it do it. All you're basically expressing is, I have a leadership problem.
Same thing with Netanyahu.
Yep.
So he thinks it just occurred to me. He's deploying the same exact freaking strategy with Israel. He's behind the scenes, working with the Israeli government through Blinken, and then a leak a day to Axios, to Politico, to the New York Times. We're trying so hard, but they're not listening.
All the meta narrative is weakness, not good leadership.
Yep.
And that is,
and he's feeble, and it doesn't help that he can't go out there and use the bully pulpit in any way. But that reinforces the physical, when the Republicans talk about Obama being weak,
not is only a function because he's showing weak leadership.
I know, but but when Obama was called weak, it didn't hit in the same way. Obama did show weak leadership in many instances, including in that grand bargain moment, right? But because he was able to use the bully pulpit and he had that charisma, it didn't hit in the same way when this guy isn't really coming out and talking to the American public, looks old, talks old, and every narrative that's coming out when it comes to Israel, when it comes to immigration is, I agree with everything, but they won't do what I want.
And let's also be clear, aside from immigration as an issue, when you say Donald Trump is a dictator and he is anti-democratic, you're also saying too strong of a leader.
Yeah.
And you need to be able, it's just playing too much into a narrative. Come out and say, we are going to protect Ukraine. And this is, again, putting aside the merits of the policy that people may have, but if you're running for president, you got to come out and say, we're going to do this and we're going to do it. And we have to do it. And if I have to fight Congress day in, day out to get this, but do you want the immigration bill or not? We don't know. Biden just sort of did it quietly. I'm signaling that I'm okay with you doing whatever you want on the immigration thing to get the thing. It all just looks weak. It looks just weak. And people don't have the trust in that leadership. That is the sort of like political failure here. But
it's incredible that we're back here. It really is. It really is incredible that we're back here. Because, I mean, this is the exact same kind of thing we were dealing with Obama, right? Like, you know, there's not necessarily anything that we can do. And we were told by some people that Trump would be so radicalizing that the Democrats would, when they gain power, have no choice but to actually be progressive and aggressive, and we're back in the exact same situation.
I mean, that's the problem with the Democrats in the sort of neoliberal era is that we can't do anything. Yeah, I mean, I'm just restating what you said.
I don't even know. I mean, like, none of this seems to me to be even the only thing that I can tell from a Biden perspective that's ideological is the Israel stuff. I mean, everything else just seems to be like it's just this era of Democrats. When there is any type of like pushback, they immediately fall into this concept of triangulation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no offense.
Which is, I'm going to take their issue and champion it, and they won't have an issue to run on. That's what the strategy is, the broad stroke political. He comes from an era of triangulation. So when there's any, like, this is why he did not get Build Back Better. Because again, it was the idea of like, I'm going to invite the Republicans in and show how they can't come up with anything. So we're just going to have to do it. No, that's not the way you do it. You just do it.
What about abortion? We're in this situation with abortion, too, because of that 90s Democrat strategy, too, which was don't say the word abortion, don't talk about it. The right got that entire, got control of the argument. And I know it's like a minoritarian thing and abortion rights are popular, but they basically controlled the narrative around abortion for quite a while and were able to make gains in that way. Democrats didn't really aggressively oppose it.
What it really did is it made it impossible for Democrats to aggressively run on the implications of a judiciary because they had not taken that position in those words. They had ceded the ground, and then it was impossible for them to say, hey, remember how for the past 10 years we've been a little bit quiet on like abortion rights because we're like flashing around? Well, guess what? Now it's going to be in threat.
Well, and this is what I was trying to say. Like, I always look at politics. There's the maintainers, which are the Democrats. There's suppressors, which are Republicans. Like, only way things ever move forward in a positive way is when there's people that actually like want to take the offense and cultivate things. And whether it's abortion rights, which is like, let's guarantee you right to that health care. And by the way, not just like that one procedure, but a holistic view of health. Or immigration. We want more people here and more labor protections. You need to actually affirmatively say what you want and where you want to go. You can't just sit there and hope to like maintain it and hope the judges protect you and hope that like people will come to their senses because, oh, look at you, prove them wrong. Because I mean, this thing about, oh, we're going to grant your premise and then you are going to like leave us at the altar. All that shows the American people is that you wasted government time with a ploy.
He's a moral
arc. It just makes you look like someone
you're
jilted. Yeah, it makes you look impotent.
He's a moral arc of progress Democrat, right? Where he basically acts as if
it's automatic.
Society is moving along a stream and the tide will take us there eventually. And it really is just a way to work backwards from an abdication of responsibility.
Well, it's the same thing with Israel. Like, can we just do the maintain thing of the maintain a two-state fiction that is not real, or should we actually be affirmatively saying, no, we want a one democratic state for safely for everybody there?
Well,
I think we have to stop
saying that.
No, I know more Democrat. I mean, I think even the left maybe even made a little mistake doing the abolish ICE simply thing, because that is a purely negative thing. There's no demand there for what the future should be. And actually, if we would have just did abolish ICE isn't up to this moment right now. We need to actually have elaborate a process that gets people in because we have space for them and protects labor. And we need to affirmatively say that. And I think like maybe there's a little bit to be said about defund the police too. I agree with those things fundamentally, but they're just purely negative. We need to be moving the ball forward.
All right, let's just play a little bit of this interview and then we'll go into the fun half. We're not in the fun half now, right?
No.
Okay, let's just play this interview and then we'll go. I just got too riled up.
Democratic Senator from New York, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. It's really good to have you on the show, Senator.
Great to be here.
You have
Happy
said
Monday.
that Happy Monday. We love Mondays. You've said that you worked very closely with Leader McConnell on this bill. Now that we see what's in it, seems to be as bipartisan as it gets. Why wouldn't both sides really want this to go through?
Well, it's a great question, Mika. Look, it took a long time, 4 months of arduous negotiations. They fell off the tracks a whole bunch of times. I had to be on the phone even at midnight saying, we've got to keep going. Why?
It's very late for me.
We're at a turning point in America. This bill is crucial, and history will look back on it and say, did America fail itself? Why is it crucial? Well, if we don't aid Ukraine, Putin will be all over Ukraine, and we could be fighting in Eastern Europe in a NATO ally in a few years. Americans won't like that. If we don't help Israel defend itself against Hamas, that perpetual war will go on and on and on. If we don't help humanitarian aid to the starving Palestinians in Gaza, hundreds of thousands could starve. And the border, everyone has said it's chaos. You just saw Speaker Johnson. He said it's chaos. We have to do something legislative a few months ago. But what has happened, in answer your question, so this is crucial for America. It's a turning point.
Okay.
History is going to look over our shoulders.
All of this just shows how their failure of messaging. He starts with Ukraine. He then goes to Israel. He then goes to humanitarian aid. And then he mentions, they say the border's in crisis. So I'm going to accept the premise the border's in crisis, which is a 100% loser for Democrats across the country to accept that premise. And on the show that apparently Joe Biden listens to,
and calls the host
the
personally.
only graphic they are putting up is the border stuff. Like this absolutely shows the abject failure of Democratic messaging on this. This is a failure by the White House. Chuck Schumer just like he can't run fast enough to hold somebody's coat. So I don't know how much he's involved in this. But the idea that nobody's saying to the White House, like, hey, this is a huge mistake. You are ceding. Like, it's like, do they not remember the one thing that everybody quotes from Donald Trump's speech when he entered this race, when he came down that the escalator? The one thing he said, it was about immigration. That is what Donald Trump, his sine qua non of everything, was always based upon that. And they are now have gotten to the point where they're saying, we've got a crisis at the border. Well, 3 years into your administration, if you've got a crisis anywhere, guess whose fault it is? I mean, this is such a failure.
I mean,
let it play for 20 more seconds, and then we got to take a break so I can.
I know.
Not.
I understand.
Bang my head against the.
Also,
the
just got a note too. The immediate touting of it being bipartisan, because it doesn't really matter what the substance is. It's just about the fact that
that's the thing.
so
They're still
detached.
living in such a bubble of like, who are they trying? Like they're trying to. They have got it in their heads that they've got to like convince George Conway to vote for Joe Biden or whomever it is. It's just absurd.
Yep.
It's just absurd. You're telling those same people that there's a crisis. An immigration crisis, and they're living somewhere in, I don't know, in the suburbs in Bucks County. And they're like, wait, there's an immigration crisis?
the president's responsible for that.
Well, I remember the one thing about Donald Trump is he was going to stop immigrants. He was going to build a wall. Go ahead.
And say, did we rise to the occasion? To his credit, Mitch McConnell did. But too many Republicans, including Speaker Johnson, are just scared to death of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has said he wants chaos. Donald Trump has said, well, wait till I become president. That'll take at least a year. Ukraine could be gone. The border will get much worse. War in the Middle East will get worse, maybe bringing us into it. He's doing it all for political
Okay, now pause it.
reasons.
Like, did you listen to what Chuck Schumer just said? He just said, let me take care of it when I become president. And Chuck's like, that's going to take a year. Now, that is a great tool if you think there's a slight chance in hell that your bill that you're promoting is going to get passed. But it's not. Everybody knew this. Everybody knew this last week. Everybody knew it 2 weeks ago. So now the border's going to get worse, according to Chuck Schumer, over the course of the next year. Who do you blame? Like, if you're an average voter, like, who do you blame? Well, the Republicans didn't pass that, but Donald Trump did say he would fix it when he got in, and Joe Biden's not been able to fix it.
Yeah, if the Republicans are the obstacle, well, they'll listen to Trump.
They'll listen to Trump, and now it's a year, and I mean, like, this is just so moronic. It's just, it's astonishing. It's astonishing. Like, did every single staffer for all these people just quit en masse? Is there no one who says, like, hey, you should listen back to what you're saying?
I mean, this is Washington brain personified, right?
So crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah. More?
And let me just say, will senators, the crucial question, the $64,000 question, the majority of Republican senators know this bill is the right thing to do. It's a compromise. Right. I don't like everything in it. It's a compromise. That's the only.
The answer is no. You idiot.
Gotta.
Like, who is this for?
It's the tone he says it is like the same tone he takes when he's recording a robocall.
But I mean, honestly, like, who is he saying this for?
But maybe that.
It's just going to go back, and Joe Biden's going to look at it, and
donor
it's just
voice.
absurd.
Yeah, dumb donors. That's all you really need.
This is him. He's going to give an identical speech to some fundraiser.
It's so.
Yeah.
There needs to be a reporter that looks into some ideological real shifts in the White House after Ron Klain's departure and Jeff Zients coming in. I want a deeper dive into that because, like, I'm not saying this. I know this is Biden's ideology to a degree, but there has been, I think, a shift. And just throwing that out there.
Folks, it's your support that makes this show possible. Blah, blah, blah.